Well, hello there. It is wonderful to see you again, my friend. Would you care to join me? I am reading a classic fairy tale. Road caption, or as you may know her, Little Red Cap. If you would like to listen to this tale, then grab a stogie, grab a coffee, grab some other drink, whatever you fancy. It's time we get spooky. Once upon a time, there was a sweet little maiden. Whoever laid eyes upon her couldn't help but love her, but it was her grandmother who could never give a child enough. One day, she made her a present, a small velvet cap, and since it was so becoming and the maiden always wanted to wear it, people only called her Little Red Cap. One day, her mother said to her, "Come, Little Red Cap, take this piece of cake and bottle of wine and bring them to your grandmother. She's sick and weak, and this will strengthen her. Be nice and good and greet her from me. Go directly there and don't stray from the path. Otherwise, you'll fall and break the glass, and your grandmother will get nothing." Little Red Cap promised to obey her mother. Well, the grandmother lived out in the forest, half an hour from the village. And as soon as Little Red Cap entered the forest, she encountered the wolf. However, Little Red Cap didn't know what a wicked sort of animal he was, and was not afraid of him.
Good day, Little Red Cap,
he said. "Thank you, kindly wolf."
"Where are you going so early, Little Red Cap?"
"To grandmother's."
"What are you carrying under your apron?"
"Cake and wine. My grandmother's sick and weak. And yesterday we baked this cake so it will help her get well."
"Where does your grandmother live, Little Red Cap?"
"About a quarter of an hour from here, in the forest. Her house is under 3 big oak trees. You can tell it by the hazel bushes," said Little Red Cap. The wolf thought to himself, "What a juicy morsel she'll be for me. Now, how am I going to catch her?" Then he said,
"Listen, Little Red Cap. Haven't you seen the beautiful flowers growing in the forest? Why don't you look around? I believe you haven't even noticed how lovely the birds are singing. You march along as if you're going straight to the school in the village, and yet it's so delightful out here in the woods."
Little Red Cap looked around and saw that the sun had broken through the trees, and that the woods were full of beautiful flowers. So she thought to herself, "If I bring grandmother a bunch of flowers, she'd certainly like that. It's still early and I'll arrive on time." So she plunged into the woods to look for flowers, and each time she plucked one, she thought she saw another even prettier flower and ran after it, going deeper and deeper into the forest. But the wolf went straight to the grandmother's house and knocked on the door. "Who's there?"
"Little Red Cap, I bought you some cake and wine. Open up."
"Just lift the latch," the grandmother called. "I'm so weak and can't get up." The wolf lifted the latch and the door sprang open. Then he went straight to the grandmother's bed and gobbled her up. Next, he took her clothes, put them on along with her nightcap, laid down on her bed and drew the curtains. Meanwhile, Little Red Cap had been running around looking for flowers, and only when she had as many as she could carry did she continue on the way to her grandmother. She was puzzled when she found the door open, and she entered the room. It seemed so strange inside that she thought, "Oh my God, how frightened I feel today. I usually like to be at grandmother's." Then she went to the bed and drew back the curtains. There lay her grandmother with her cap pulled down over her face, giving her a strange appearance. "Oh, grandmother, what big ears you have."
"The better to hear you with."
This dumb bitch. "Oh, grandmother, what big eyes you have."
"The better to see you with."
"Oh, grandmother, what big hands you have."
"The better to grab you with."
"Oh, grandmother, what a terribly big mouth you have."
"The better to read you with."
No sooner did the wolf say that, he jumped out of her bed and gobbled up poor little Redcap. After the wolf had fat chunks in his body, he lay down to bed again, fell asleep, and began to snore very loudly. The huntsman happened to be passing by the house and thought to himself, "The way the old woman's snoring, you better see if something's wrong." That's a strange thought. Anyway, he went into the room, and when he came to the bed, he saw the wolf laying on it. He had been searching for the wolf a long time and thought that the beast had certainly eaten the grandmother. Perhaps she can still be saved, he said to himself. I won't shoot. So he took some scissors and cut open the wolf's belly. After he made a couple of cuts, he sawed with Redcap's shining forth. And after he made a few more cuts, the girl jumped out and exclaimed, "Oh, how frightened I was. It was so dark in the wolf's body." Soon the grandmother emerged alive. Little Redcap quickly fetched some large heavy stones and filled the wolf's body with them. When he awoke and tried to run away, the stones were so heavy that he fell down at once and died. All three were delighted. The huntsman skinned the fur from the wolf, the grandmother ate the cake and drank the wine that Little Redcap had brought, and Little Redcap thought to herself, "Never again will you stray from the path by yourself and go into the forest when your mother has forbidden it." It has also been told that Little Redcap returned to her grandmother one day to bring some baked goods. Another wolf spoke to her and tried to, entice her to leave the path. But this time, Little Redcap was on her guard. She went straight ahead and told her grandmother that she had seen the wolf, that he had wished her good day, but that he had such a mean look in his eyes that he would have eaten me if we hadn't been on the open road. "Come," said grandmother. "We'll lock the door so he can't get in." Soon after, the wolf knocked and cried out,
"Open up, grandmother. It's Little Redcap, and I brought you some baked goods."
But they kept quiet and didn't open the door, so the wicked wolf encircled the house several times and finally jumped on top of the roof. He waited until evening, when Little Redcap would go home. He intended to sneak after her and eat her up in the darkness, but the grandmother realized that he had what he had in mind. In front of the house was a big stone trough, and she said to the child, "Fetch the bucket, Little Redcap. I cooked sausages yesterday. Get the water they were boiled in, and pour it into the trough." Little Redcap carried the water until she had filled the big trough. When the smell of sausages reached the nose of the wolf, he sniffed and looked down. Finally, he stretched his neck so far that he could no longer keep his balance on the roof. He began to slip from the roof and fell right into the big trough and drowned. Then, Little Redcap went happily and safely to her home. The end. Well, that was lovely. The lesson commonly found in this is to obey your parents and also don't go into the woods, at least off the beaten path. But another lesson I like to think about in this is be perceptive. You should not be fooled by a wolf dressed as your grandmother. That is very obvious, and I don't know how Little Red Riding Hood got fooled by that. Anyway, it's getting dark and you should head home. So, until we meet again, good night, sleep tight, and let the bats bite. Don't go off the beaten path.